Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the midpoint of your life. You look behind you and see a trail of choices, mistakes, memories, and fleeting moments. Each one shaped who you are today, but none of them made sense when you lived through them. You see the heartbreaks that once shattered, youth of failures that once humiliated you, and the small coincidences that seemed meaningless at the time, but now you realize they were not random. They were threads in a pattern that only time could reveal. Søren Kierkegaard once said, "Life can only be understood backwards. Viewed must be lived forwards." And in those words lies one of the greatest paradoxes of human existence. We're born facing the future, but we only gain clarity when we turn around, think about it. You can only understand the significance of love after you've lost it. You can only appreciate innocence after it's gone. And you only recognize turning points after you've already crossed them in the moment, where blind West stumble forward through uncertainty. And only when time passes does the fog begin to lift, and we finally see what it all meant. But here's the tragedy: by the time we understand, it's already too late to change it. This is the cruel wisdom of existence. The lesson that Kierkegaard understood so deeply will live first and only later. Tao comprehend most people try to escape this paradox. They want understanding now, they want certainty. They want to know the meaning before they take the step, but life doesn't work that way. It demands faith before knowledge, movement before meaning. You must leap first and only after falling. Do you understand why you jumped? Kierkegaard called this the leap of faith, not in a religious sense alone, but in the existential sense, to live to act without full understanding, to trust that meaning will reveal itself later. But why is it so hard for us to accept this? Because the human mind craves control. It wants to draw a straight line between cause and effect. It wants to predict, to plan, to be safe. The truth is, life unfolds in spirals, not straight lines. Repeat patterns we circle back, or discover old wounds under new names, and only with hindsight do we begin to see the geometry of our own becoming. Have you ever noticed how the events that once felt meaningless later return with deeper significance? A stranger you met years ago suddenly becomes a catalyst for change. A failure that once broke you turns out to be the foundation of your strength. It's almost as if life hides its logic behind time itself. You cannot decode it in the present, because the present is too close, too loud, too raw, only when distance grows. Do you see the full shape of what you lived through, and yet we're condemned to live forward, to make decisions in darkness, to move through uncertainty with nothing but intuition and faith? This is not a flaw. It is the design. Kierkegaard believed that existence is not a puzzle to be solved, but a path to be walked. Each step forward brings us closer to understanding what the previous step meant. But most people live trapped between regret and anticipation. They stare backward, wishing to change the past, or look forward, trying to control the future, and in doing so they miss the only moment that is truly alive, the present. The present is where we live, but it's also where we're blind. You see, understanding belongs to memory, but life belongs to experience. The two will never meet in the same moment. This is the sense of Kierkegaard's paradox, and perhaps the quiet sadness of being human. But there's a hidden beauty in this as well, because it means that even your confusion has meaning. Your mistakes are not wasted. Your pain is not senseless. It is simply too early to understand. Every wand you carry is an unfinished sentence, and time is still writing the rest of it. Or instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" perhaps ask, "What might this mean someday?" Because one day, when the dust has settled, you will look back and realize that the moments that felt like endings were in fact beginnings in disguise. You cannot read the story of your life while you are still inside the chapter. And that's why Kierkegaard's words are not just philosophy. They are an invitation to live differently, to stop demanding clarity before action, to stop waiting for certainty before love, to stop postponing life until it makes sense, because it never will. Note yet, meaning is not given to us in advance. It is revealed through living, through suffering, through risking ourselves in the unknown. And this is where courage enters, the courage to live forward, even when you don't understand, the courage to trust that someday you will look back and see that every confusion, every detour was necessary to live forward, is to accept the mystery, to surrender to what you cannot control, and to keep walking anyway. And when you finally reach those quiet moments when the noise fades, and you can look back on everything you've been through, you begin to see how the puzzle pieces fit together. You see how pain became wisdom, how loss became compassion, how failure became direction, and how all along something greater than reason was guiding you. Perhaps that is what Kierkegaard meant by faith, not blind belief, but trust in the unfolding of existence. He knew that life is not a straight road. It is a labyrinth of pattern that only reveals itself from above. And while we walk inside it, we can only see one turn at a time. But if you could rise high enough, if you could see from the vantage point of time itself, you would understand that every turn, every setback, every heartbreak was part of the path leading you home. So maybe understanding life backwards is not about regret, it is about revelation. It is the realization that what once broke you was also what built you, that the moment you feared were the moments that defined, that everything you thought was random was quietly shaping you into who you were meant to become. And so as you stand in this present moment between the past, you cannot change in the future. You cannot remember this, you are living the part of the story that alone day makes sense. You are inside the chaos that will one day become clarity. You are becoming the person that your future self will look back on with understanding and gratitude, solid forward with faith, not because you know the ending, but because you trust that the ending will make sense when you finally look back. And when that day comes, you will smile and realize that Kierkegaard was right all along. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must always be lived forwards.